Jarrell Miller has repeatedly accused Anthony Joshua of using performance-enhancing substances. Now, specifically this week, he is claiming that early on in Anthony Joshua's professional career, Joshua was granted something called a TUE, which stands for a therapeutic usage exemption to use testosterone. Now, it sounds as though a TUE is something granted by a boxing commission, like the British Board of Boxing Control. It's an exemption, essentially, where they allow you to use certain substances for whatever medical or therapeutic purposes. Now, I have no idea whether or not this is true, and AJ did have a TUE or does have a TUE for testosterone. No idea. But if he does, and as I say, the British Board have given him this exemption, then there's nothing anybody can do about it. And that's that, really. The issue would obviously be, is Anthony Joshua getting favorable treatment by the British Board if indeed he does have a TUE for testosterone? So, for example, if a fighter who was fighting on a small hall show went to the British Board and asked for a TUE for testosterone, citing the very same reasons that AJ allegedly gave, would that small hall fighter also be granted the TUE? You see, in boxing and in the world in general, wherever you find money, you're going to find, let's just say, favoritism. That's just the way things go. And I have paid attention to top-level pros over the years like Mike Tyson, Paulie Malignaggi, contenders like Tony Thompson, and many others who have come out on multiple occasions and publicly stated that in their view, most of the top-level professionals in boxing are on some kind of performance-enhancing substances. I can't ignore when not one top-level fighter, not two, but multiple top-level fighters who are retired come out and say this stuff over and over again. I can't ignore it. I have to pay some attention to what they're saying because they are in the know. They are insiders. I also know about fighters from back in the days like Tommy Morrison, RIP. Tommy Morrison fought his entire professional boxing career on steroids, apart from when he came back, actually, when he was much older, after he claimed he was cured of HIV/AIDS. During that period, he claims he was clean. But prior to that, prior to having his boxing license revoked when they initially found out he had HIV, Tommy Morrison's entire boxing career was spent juiced up on steroids. By his own admission, he never got caught. He never once got popped or tested positive. But his whole boxing career, up until he got banned or had his license revoked for testing positive for HIV, his whole boxing career was on steroids. By his own admission. So if a guy can go his whole career and be in big fights against people like Lennox Lewis, Ray Mercer, Carl the Truth Williams, George Foreman, etc., etc. If he can go his whole career in these high-profile fights on steroids and never get popped for it, who's to say that fighters who are around today can't go their whole careers without getting popped? And even the fighters who do get popped, if you are a big enough star, it can quickly get swept under the rug. I mean, Canelo Alvarez got popped for PEDs, and within, 2 days, the WBC were declaring him innocent? When they had other fighters like Alexander Povetkin and, various others, they took a long time to come to a conclusion. In-depth investigation had to be conducted. Rightfully so. But with Canelo, it was all done and dusted very, very quickly, wasn't it? And of course, they say, well, you know, he shouldn't have eaten contaminated beef, and we still have to slap him on the wrist for that. Regardless of how the substance gets into your body, it's still not allowed to be in your body. But we don't believe that he did it with any kind of a malicious intent. So we're going to give him a 6-month ban, which makes no difference to somebody who fights, 2 times a year, or not much difference. Somebody who only fights 2 times a year. And we're going to publicly exonerate him, which is what the WBC did. If that had been a lower level fighter, how many of you believe that they would have been treated in the same way as Canelo? This is the reality of professional boxing and professional sports. When you are a cash cow, when you're somebody who generates an enormous amount of money, you're feeding a lot of people. And because you're feeding a lot of people, blind eyes will be turned. Oh, yes, they will, in many situations. So bringing this right back around to AJ and the TUE allegations, I don't know. I've got no idea whether or not it's true, but I certainly wouldn't dismiss it. And it wouldn't at all surprise me if it did turn out to be true. If Anthony Joshua is juicing, we may never find out. As long as he stays a celebrity in the UK, a cash cow, we may never find out if he's juicing. But if we do find out, it's not going to be at the peak of his boxing career. I would find that very unlikely that it will be at the peak of his boxing career. If we do find out, it's likely to be once he's on the decline, or maybe when his career is over or coming to an end, maybe after he suffered a few defeats. That's when I think it would be more likely for us to hear news that AJ's been popped for something. But at the height of his career, even if he did get popped for something, I imagine he would be fairly quickly exonerated. Now, Anthony Joshua never denied having a TUE. Did you notice that? Do not just watch what people say. Watch what they don't say. Pay attention to what they don't say. If Anthony Joshua never had a therapeutic usage exemption, he can just come straight out and say, I have never had a therapeutic usage exemption for testosterone. That is categorically untrue. That's what that is. So there's no room for ambiguity. A categorical, clear denial is all that's required. And that's what you get from people who know that what's being said about them is a lie. But when people know that what's been said about them is true, but they're hoping to save face and preserve their image, you get kind of curious responses, right? Where they don't specifically and categorically deny what's being said about them, but they try and make light of it. Anthony Joshua said, well, I'm tested loads of times and this and that happens and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, great. You get tested loads. You haven't denied having a TUE. And as I said previously, when you're dealing with this amount of money, testing organizations are just made up of human beings who want to put their kids through college. This is the reality. This is human nature. And all these testing organizations all seem above board and legit, and the sanctioning bodies all seem very proper, but they're just made up of human beings. Human beings are corruptible. So once again, I want to be categorical here. I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm not accusing the British board of anything. I'm not accusing Anthony Joshua of anything. All I'm saying is it's more than plausible that AJ, has been granted a TUE, that various different testing organizations and sanctioning bodies would turn a blind eye. To me, this is very plausible. Very plausible. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. It's happening, I'm out. Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week. covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.